I'm back. We lost you for a minute. Our goal, remember, was our operations with complex numbers. We've already done adding and subtracting and multiplying. The last one is dividing. And when you're dividing, here would be your original problem. 2i divided by 3 plus 6i. We cannot leave a complex number in the denominator. To get rid of the denominator of a complex number, you have to multiply by its complex conjugate, which is what I've written here. Can't leave complex number in the denominator, must multiply by the complex conjugate. And we worked with this earlier this year. The complex conjugate of 3 plus 6i is going to be the same thing with the opposite sign. So it would be 3 minus 6i. So looking back at that original problem, 2i times the quantity 3 plus 6i, we're going to multiply numerator and denominator by 3 minus 6i or plus a negative 6i. I just made that there so that you could see it and realize you're doing the opposite sign. You can call that 3 minus 6i instead of plus negative if you want, but it's got to be the opposite sign there. So when we multiply on top, we have 2i times 3, which is 6i. We have, using the distributive property, 2i times negative 6i, which will give you negative 12i squared. Remember, I squared is the same thing as negative 1, so we have a negative 1 times a negative 12, which will give me a positive 12. So we have 6i plus 12 for our numerator. For the denominator, when you multiply by a complex conjugate, you're going to use FOIL. 3 times 3 gives you 9. 3 times negative 6i gives you negative 18i. 6i times 3 gives you positive 18i. I've circled those because they're going to zero one another out. That's going to get rid of your i's in your denominator. And then we have positive 6i times negative 6i, which is going to give me negative 36i squared. We know that I squared is the same thing as negative 1. So we have negative 36 times negative 1, which is positive 36. So we have 9 plus 36, which gets us to 45. So the numerator is 6i plus 12. The denominator is 45. Okay, we're going to do another example. Instead of having a monomial on top, we're going to have a binomial on top. So your original problem is 2 plus I divided by 1 minus I. You can't leave a complex number in the denominator. They can be in the numerator, but not in the denominator. So we would multiply both sides by 1 plus I, both the bottom and the top. So when we're doing the top, we have 2 times 1, which is 2. We have 2 times I, which is 2i. We have I times 1, which is 1i. And then we have positive I times positive I, which is positive I squared. Okay, so when we combine our 2 i's and I, we have 3 i's. And when we take I squared is the same thing as negative 1, so we rewrite that as negative 1. We have 2 plus 3i minus 1, which will give me 1 plus 3i for a numerator. Back to the denominator. Complex conjugate of 1 minus I is 1 plus I. When we FOIL, 1 times 1 gives us 1. 1 times positive I gives us positive I. Negative I times 1 gives us negative I. Again, I've circled those because they zero out. Negative I times positive I gives me negative I squared. Negative I squared is the same thing as negative 1. So we have 1 minus negative 1, or a denominator of 2. So our final answer is 1 plus 3i divided by 2. Hope that helps. Look through these. Give me a call if you have questions. I'll post this on Monday. The assignment will be due hopefully by Wednesday. If you have questions, I will be glad to take them by text message, phone call, email. Hope you're having a great day and that the sun's shining in your world.